Hey guys, it's Brandon Miniman from Pocketnow.com. I've been waiting for a long time for AT&T to pick up a WebOS device. Finally, last week, the Palm Pre Plus was announced and it's coming out in early June on the carrier. I've been using it as my daily driver for a full week now, and I just wanted to report back with a few different aspects of the Palm Pre Plus, having used it for 7 days now. So in this video, we're going to cover ergonomics and gestures, performance, productivity, and battery life. Let's take a look. Okay, so let's start off by talking about the hardware and the ergonomics. As I mentioned in the hardware tour video, I don't like the keyboard particularly much on the Palm Pre Plus. I find that it's sunken in and it's difficult to use unless you're using sort of the fingernails on your thumbs. And after using this for a week, I still feel this way. I thought that perhaps that after a while I would get used to it, but that's not the case. If you want a really, really good keyboard, the Palm Pixie and the Palm Pixie Plus has, in my opinion, one of the best keyboards of any mobile phone out there. And of course, the Palm Pixie Plus is coming to AT&T in the near future, so if you're on the AT&T network, this may be the better one to get, except this is the Palm Pixie Plus and the Palm Pixie are underpowered compared to the Pre, which is really unfortunate. So let's talk more about the ergonomics on the Palm Pre Plus on AT&T. I find the device to feel overall numb. There are no buttons on the front. There are only buttons on the sides here, and there is a standby button on the top. So numb that sometimes I take the phone out of my pocket and I don't realize which way I'm holding the phone because it's all the same. The only way to tell if you're holding the phone right side up is to look at this little chrome strip up here, but if you're feeling for your phone, you're trying to do something really quick, a lot of the times I've taken the phone out and I'm like, oh, this is the wrong way, so I flip it over. Whereas on other devices, like the HD2 or any other phone, there are hardware buttons and you can feel for them and you know, okay, I don't feel hardware buttons, therefore I am on the top, or I feel hardware buttons, therefore I'm on the bottom. And on the Palm Pre Plus, it's just not that easy, so I feel that it's overall a bit numb. The device is also thick compared to other devices. I know it has a slide-out keyboard, and it's about as thick as the HTC Touch Pro 2, but I think because it's small, because it's not very tall, not very wide, it just feels like a little brick. It's not that heavy, but it definitely has some thickness to it. So let's talk about the gestures. WebOS has so many gestures built in that you could probably write a 10-page book about them. So let's go into them now. So I'm going to unlock the screen. I guess that could be considered one gesture, but I'm not going to call it one. The first gesture I want to talk about is the notification gesture. I think WebOS is one of the best notification systems of any smartphone operating system. It's very unobtrusive and it's very easy to action on. So perfect, I have two notifications here. I tap down here, and here are the two different notifications that I have. I can tap on either to read it fully. I've got a text message and an email, or I can swipe them off the screen if I don't want to see them anymore, and then it goes back to the full screen view. And again, these notifications can pop up while you're working, but they don't pop up in front of your face like you'll find it on the iPhone or other smartphone operating systems. So that was a look at one gesture. Another gesture is the simple gesture to go back to the home screen. And I thought for a very long time that to go back to the home screen, you tap on this capacitive area. And that will work, but Palm actually wants you to do it a different way. They want you to swipe upwards to get back to the home screen, and I think that actually feels a little bit better. If you swipe up one more time here, you'll get your program list. We're going to talk about that in a minute. If you tap and hold on your cards, you'll get this zoomed out card view. Although for most people, you probably won't need to use this, and what it lets you do is rearrange the cards, because you're probably going to close the cards when you're done with them, unless you're using an application a ton like email or Twitter, so you'll leave them open all the time. But even then, you probably don't need to rearrange the cards. I've never run into that situation. So let's go back in and we'll go back to another application. Now another gesture you can do, and this one helps tremendously when you're trying to get to an application that can only be found in your application tray, is to drag up and you get the sort of favorite, you get your 4 favorite apps, and on the right you get your full application tray, so you don't have to bounce back to the home screen to jump to the next application, which is really nice and really helps a lot with productivity. Another gesture that you can use to switch between applications is the right to left swipe, so I can actually shuffle through my cards like so, and it actually looks like you're shuffling through cards. So I have 3 applications open, and instead of going back to my home screen, I don't even have to leave the app. And this is kind of like doing Alt-Tab on the computer if you're using a Windows machine. Just a really convenient way to cycle through the open windows that you have. So I'm going to go into the web browser and show you one final gesture that really helps a lot with navigation. So let's go into the web browser, and I'm over Wi-Fi network, so let's load pocketnow.com. The browser is good. It's not great. I think the browser on Android and on the iPhone and even Opera Mobile 10 on Windows Mobile is better, but it's definitely capable. So here we have pocketnow.com loaded. We can scroll down, and sometimes it lags a little bit. It's not very responsive to the touch. And you get the checkerboard pattern if you zoom down very fast. But the gesture that I want to show you here is that you can actually use the capacitive area on the right to scroll, which is just a really good idea. This way you're not having to put your finger over text. You can read everything. It just works very, very well. And it goes one notch at a time, so it's not too much, it's not too little. And you can see the little lights sort of transforming as I do the gesture. So a really cool thing that I think helps a lot with getting around a web page. And back to the card view we go. Okay, so let's talk about productivity. For me, productivity on a mobile device is very, very important. I want to be able to multitask. I want to be able to jump around from application to application without too much difficulty. So let's go into, say, the web. And let's say I want to load this link right here. And all the while, I want to open up my email. So I'm going to swipe over to my email. And it looks like I just did a back gesture. So if you don't do a full swipe, if you do like a half swipe, you're actually going to use the back function in WebOS. And this is a problem in WebOS, I think, because it's kind of annoying to have to use the gesture pad to move back. And in a program like Twitter and Tweefree, you really notice this. Another great thing about WebOS is that as an application is loading, you can flick it off the screen to close it. In other operating systems, you have to wait until the application fully loads before you do anything. But in this case, if you open an app and you say, oh, on second thought, I don't want to use it, you can flick it right off the screen, and there is no hiccup in the device. So I'm going to log into Twitter here and show you this back gesture, because this is actually one that I forgot. And so let's say that I tap on John for Lakers here, and I want to go back to the previous screen. I have to swipe back. And you use that a lot, and I find it to be so annoying. I just want a back button, a hardware button that I can click, that I can find very easily. I don't like this gesturing. And so if you do a full swipe, then you get the ability to switch between applications. But only if you do a full swipe. You can see how your thumb is going to get a lot of use in WebOS. So we were talking about productivity and how the ability to switch from app to app is very, very important. And as I mentioned, WebOS gives you a lot of different ways to go from app to app. Of course, we have this that we just talked about. We have the full swipe to go back and forth. We have the home screen view, which lets you switch between applications. So in terms of productivity, I find myself to be very productive using WebOS. It just works very, very well. And speaking of applications, I like how the application tray is set up in WebOS. So let's go into there. It's comprised of 3 different screens, which is different than other operating systems where maybe you'll have a very, very long list of applications like in Windows Mobile, or you'll have screen after screen after screen of apps like in iPhone. In the case of WebOS, you have 3 screens, 1, 2, and 3. And the way as I think about it is that the center screen is what I like to keep, where I like to keep the things that I use the most often. And WebOS actually remembers which screen you're on. So if I end up with this screen, the one on the left, and I go back into it, I'm taken to the one on the left. So with that in mind, I keep all of the programs that I like the most in the center, and you can tap and drag anything from the other screens to another screen to populate it with the things that you use the most, which really helps a lot so that you're not having to flip through a ton of application lists and screens and other things like that. So for productivity, WebOS gets really high marks. I've really enjoyed using WebOS on the Palm Pre Plus on AT&T for that. Now let's talk about performance. You see that I have a lot of cards open right now, and I'm going to open up even more and really try to toll the platform. I'm going to open up an additional card. And the way you can do that is go up to this drop-down menu, which I also don't like too much, and I can click New Card. And let's go to, say, engadget.com. Yep, there we go. And click Enter. By the way, while this is loading, something that I do like about WebOS is the menu in the upper right corner. So you can toggle Wi-Fi on and off very easily this way, or just leave it on all of the time, and you don't have to go into a separate menu to see the networks that are open. It's kind of an overlay in the upper right corner, so that's pretty cool. I like that, but again, I don't like this menu in the upper left corner, because you have to be very precise with your finger to open it up. So here we are, we've got two websites open, although this one turned blank on me for some reason. Up there it comes. So we'll go back to there. So now we have two web browsers. We have Twitter, email, calculator, and photos. Let me open up a photo. Let's open up the strawberry picture. And as you can see, it's blurry right now, and it's going to, now it gets clear. WebOS takes a long time to clear up pictures, which I don't like particularly much. And so we can swipe to the right or to the left, and see it's lagging right now. It's starting to get a bit slow. And I'm going to pinch to zoom in a second so you can see what that looks like. Pinch to zoom is very good on WebOS. It's very precise. Let's go back to the home screen. We've got a ton of things open. Let's see if we can make this thing get really upset and close on us. Open up Google Maps. While that's happening, I'm going to open up another application. Let's say I'm going to open up the camera. And you know what's going to happen in a second. It's going to say out of memory, which is fine. WebOS does a really good job at managing memory, and for the most part, you don't run into the notification where you're running out of memory that much. And I am actually quite impressed. This is a lot of applications that are open right now, and it's still performing decently well. They've made a lot of improvements in WebOS to get it to perform well with multitasking. They've doubled the RAM in the Palm Pre Plus versus the Palm Pre, which, as you can see, helps a lot. I wish there was a way to close all of the apps at one time, but you're probably not going to have that many open at one time anyway. And finally, I'm going to talk about battery life. Battery life on the Palm Pre Plus is a lot better than it was on the Sprint Palm Pre. I get through a day, usually with no problem. Right now I've been using my device a lot. It's about 1:47 in the afternoon. And again, these notifications are sometimes tough to press. I'm trying to see my battery life percentage. I'm at 62%. It's going down a little bit fast today. I think tonight before I plug it in, it'll be about 25%, which is pretty good and a lot better than many other smartphone operating systems out there. And before I give some final thoughts, I'm going to wrap up in talking about the app catalog, which is, of course, Palm's app store for WebOS. I have a certain suite of applications that I like to download. There's about 6 or 7 of them. I have them on the iPhone, I have them on Android, because those are both mature application marketplaces. But I can't find most of those applications in the WebOS app catalog. It's just not there yet. There's not enough developer support for the Palm app catalog, which is very unfortunate, because a lot of the applications that you can get are pretty high quality. There are some really fantastic racing games on here. There's applications for Twitter. Of course, there's always applications for Twitter. But there's also a lot of junk, a lot of these little applications that aren't so great, but I guess you'll find that in any sort of the more open application marketplaces. But in terms of the app offering, it pales in comparison to what you can get on Android or the iPhone. So some final thoughts. There are 2 things that are keeping me from loving the Palm Pre Plus on AT&T, but I already like it. I really, really like the software. I love the way that you can multitask, switch between applications, handle notifications, use gestures, organize your applications. I love it all. It's a very, very productive, friendly operating system. If you're a business user or someone that likes to get a lot done, it's a great operating system. But there are 2 big problems. One, I don't like the hardware at all. I don't like this keyboard. I don't like the overall feel of the Palm Pre. I never really did. They really need to come out with some more form factors. And number 2, the application selection is just not there yet. I don't use a million apps. I only use a couple, but those few that I do use, I use a lot, and I can't find them for WebOS. So I'm very much looking forward to the AT&T Palm Pixie Plus, because that will solve at least one of these problems of the hardware, but it won't necessarily fix the shortage of apps in the app catalog. That's it for now. If you liked this video, if it was helpful for you, please be sure to thumbs up the video and subscribe to our channel. That's it for now.